and it means to hide. The reason why we use the word jinn in Arabic is because you'll have a lot of so-called people in human form, but they are actually jinns. They hide who they are. And you don't find out who exactly there is until they reveal themselves to you. That means we remember back in the days, we'll call it, you meeting the person's representative.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, jinn means to hide. That means they pretend they're something, but they're really something else by nature.
Right.
Yeah, but jinn means to hide, and a kafirun means to conceal.
Okay, so what we're saying about women, then what the Quran was stating about women was that they were hiding. What were they hiding? What were they that they were hiding? What are you getting from that? What are you?
Well, okay, we're not gonna. Okay, I'm gonna try not to get into the religious part of it, but just the dialect of the Arabic language, which means jinn means to hide. That means, again, well, see, with them saying, first of all, we know that Islam is a religion to suppress women as much as it is in Christianity and Judaism. It was to suppress women. So we already know that they're going to always throw that on the woman, just like they did in the Bible. The woman was the harlot. You know what I'm saying? Thou shalt not suffer a wish to live. A woman should be silent. So you got major so-called women discrimination throughout these religious texts or these holy scriptures, so-called holy scriptures. So that is the attack against the woman, like it did say in Genesis that I will put enmity between the serpent seed and the woman's seed.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's always been the attack on the woman, period. Since black people have been Europeanized. Since that has happened, it's always been attacked. When black people got into Christianity, that was their thing, to suppress the black woman. They eliminated Mary and called it a Trinity. You cannot call it a Trinity. You have to call it a quality if Gabriel chose Mary. So it's not the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's it. It's the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, and the Mother. So they made it a concentrated effort to make women less great than man. You understand?
Right.
So they did that. Whether they call her a jinn, because hell, they call her a harlot in the Bible. They call her a fornicator in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So they got all types of names. If you're a strong woman, they're going to call you a disagreeable woman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not one that's supposed to bow down to her husband. That type of shit. So we got all this shit going on that's been attacking us, name calling us and everything. And mind you, before men ever got into polygamy, we were polygamists. I believe y'all call it polyandry. We were polygamists, meaning she had more than one man. But let her do it now, she's going to be called a whore. But if we go to the etymology of the word whore, it means queen. That's what brothers call us today. Queen.
Yeah, queen.
And so we're going to have these names anyway, Jen. But now, let me just answer your question, what my opinion is. This would not be my opinion on whether or not the black man is the devil or not. Let me say this. My experience, the black man is the devil in my life. And I know that for a fact through my experience. Now, that's my experience. That damn near every black man that I've known was the fucking black devil. And, I remember now who I was talking to. I was talking to a sister by the name of Miss Black, in the after party. And I noticed that her and I shared the similar life where men attacked us. We were attacked by men. They came from everywhere since the day we were born. Then we ended up also not being able to know the devil when they show up, and we end up having sex and bearing children with these motherfuckers. And we find out later that they sought to kill us and our seed. And this is our real experience. This is not me reading no Bible to you, reading the story of some Greek god or some Egyptian deity or some black bitch down in the fucking 1800s. This is my fucking day and time and her day and time. And yes, the fucking men, the black man, I've never had a white man, never white man. I'm just saying the black men, from my father to my brother to the men that came to my uncles to every fucking body, even the men that I said I do to. I found out later through self-evaluation that all of them was, in fact, had the attributes of a black devil.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying all black men are the devil, but I will say something that Dr. York said to me that brought tears to my eyes, because I was living it at that point, too. He said, 2 things a man want to take from you. Amen. 2 things a man want to take from you. Your life, it'll make you sick. And my life has been taken, and I've been sick from every last one of them.
Yeah.
So,
Peace, family. This is FleurBrun coming to you today. Now, the language is a little iffy today. I'm giving you a couple clips, so if you be patient, I have a couple clips for you to listen to. It's quite intriguing. We're going to get into conversation in a minute. So peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. Please hold your emotional state of mind. Some of this can be really disturbing, but I'm trying to make a point. So in order to do that, I need to bring in some field, a frequency, so that you understand the sentiment that's going to be discussed in the next couple minutes. So let's get into it.
And I'm gonna sing a song for you. And Bill's gonna show you a thing or two. You'll have some fun now with me and all the gang, learning from each other while we do our thing. Gonna have a good time.
It's Bill Cosby coming at you with music and fun, and if you're not careful, you may learn something before it's done. So let's get ready, okay? Hey, hey, hey. Okay, now, I just want to talk to you kids a minute. See, when I was a boy, I had some funny ideas about girls. Yeah. Like, I remember when I was a kid, it seemed like every time I did something wrong, some girls knew all about it and told on me. So I figured it out, that all these girls belonged to a secret spy network. The terrible secret order of tattletale girls. And of course, I was wrong about that.
I had 2 drinks that I'm clear about. He had his hand on the back of my head, and he was trying to push it towards his penis.
Nobody believed you, and who would have believed me? Playmate?
I didn't know if he was going to kill me or rape me.
Feeling drugged, and him having sex with me.
The last thing I remember was Bill Cosby, a patchwork robe, upping his robe and getting on top. He started grabbing at my chest and, starting to try to fondle me.
People magazine believed us, believed me, and that piece, then my family dropped me.
He grabs me, pulls me like really tight to him, kisses me in the mouth like really, really rough.
I remember is being on his couch with him taking my clothes off.
I was in a white t-shirt and my panties, and he was looming over me in a white robe.
This has affected me in my house. It's affecting me. And it has really affected these women. But I'm strong, and I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet, and I'm going to tell my side of the story, and it's not going to end here.
tells an interesting story. Take a look.
Spanish fly was the thing that all boys from age 11 on up to death, we will still be searching for Spanish fly.
That's right.
And what was the old story was, if you took a little drop, no, it was on the head of a pin.
Drop it in a Coca-Cola. Don't matter.
It doesn't make it, and the girl would drink it, and
she's yours.
Hello, America.
Paid taxes. I've never seen a Chinaman yet paid them. I've never, to be perfectly frank, I never cared for old people. Most of them, I just feel that basically they take up space, a lot of space that people could use. I feel that once you've lost your intelligence or your senses, that you should give yourself up. You should just go off someplace and die. They should have a place for old people. Put them off there. Because they move too slow. And sometimes you're walking and it's crowded, and usually the people who are causing the jam up are old people. They can't drive. All they want to do anyway is just sit in the sun on a park bench. I mean, I'm not in favor of killing them, but there should be some way we can get rid of them. You know what I mean? Just get rid of them nicely. No blood. Something. Just get rid of them.
Gonna get some dragons and some rolls and reason miners. Every day. Long as I'm away.
Peace, family. Peace, east, the west, and the north, and the south. I'm glad I got a chance to show you the different clips. We're going to get into conversation about Bill Cosby being indicted and actually sent to prison. I think his sentence will be 3 to 8 years, give or take a year or two. I think why these clips are relative is that it gives you a little bit of a synopsis of a man and his predated motion, because a lot of you are looking at an aged man, a senior, who is now being indicted for activities that he is accused of from his previous life in his youthful state that we are not seeing. So I wanted to give you a basically an overall look at Bill Cosby and all of his career, so that you get a better idea of who we're talking about. So let's get it in. You know, I got to start it off a little seedy. So we have the different sections. I started off with a clip from a young lady. I'll actually add her name too. She's really, I say she has very piloted language. I wanted to give you an overall consensus of how this discussion will go. And her beginning to talk about the jinn and how it interrelates to a being that is hiding itself, showing one face, but really all the fact that it is another type of being, meaning that it's cloaking itself, kind of relative to what we talk about reptilians, that they show one face to you, but really on the underlay, they're another species of being. It's the same with the ideology of a jinn. Okay, she also talks about that the only men in their lives, and we're going to get into this discussion. I'm not going to jump into it at the beginning, but the only men in their lives that have ever been demonically, abusive or treated them unwell were quote unquote, we'll use black men, melanin dominant men. Okay, black I don't like to use, but the men who are abusing these women, I will use the term black because they are black men that were abusing them. Okay, so I give you a little bit of a synopsis. So let's go into Bill Cosby, and then we'll talk about the general consensus and my take on this whole fiasco that's being shown on the front street. So we have Bill Cosby, who's a beloved Huxtable father that many of us, including myself, grew up with this man. Many of you are younger, so for me, maybe Cosby for you began with the Cosby Show when we were talking about the Huxtables, when obviously this was a beautiful family based in New York, very healthy, well off. The father was a doctor. The mother, I think also, I forgot, was she a pediatrician? I'm not sure what Claire Huxtable played on the show. They showed the beautiful family dynamics of people of color who grew up in the States, so were actually living the American dream, so to speak. And I think that's why you're getting such a mixed feeling from a lot of people with this indictment. For my generation, I'm a little more seasoned, and I grew up watching Fat Albert and also watching Bill Cosby, doing Jell-O commercials, doing a host of comedic tours when he did little stand-ups and other types of, like I gave you a clip of him talking about old people, once they're old, they should be locked up, not killed, but put away because they take up too much space and they're too slow. And I play that for you because sometimes you have to watch the words that you say, because in that clip, he talks about what's happening with him now. So there's a little predictive programming, even in his own stand-ups that he did previously, with him talking about what would happen when you get older and you are no longer in service to society, and that you would eventually be locked up and put away. Okay, so we're talking about that aspect too. I bring that up with a little bit of predictive programming. Now, we have to realize that the society that we're existing in struggles with a lot of speciesism, complexionism, some call it racism, that does coexist. It is something that exists in a way that I personally see as something different, but for the general consensus of society, a man of color, who I likened Bill Cosby, and I kind of compare him a little bit to, what's his name? What's his name? What's that name? I'm trying to think of the guy who killed his wife, Nicole, who was just arrested. Who was the gentleman that was just arrested for doing something else? I'm having baby on the brain moments so much. It's a shame. Oh, goodness gracious. What's the name of the gentleman? You guys know who I'm talking about. It was a murder. OJ. Thank you so much. Oh, you guys are so beautiful. Thank you. This is the problem when I don't have caffeine. And it's sad because I shouldn't require it. But O.J. Simpson, I likened the genre of a Cosby to be very likened to the genre of O.J. Simpson. Why? I'll tell you in a moment. Okay? You have brown men that are procured and also taken into a system of the old boys group, which we know that, television, we know that the occult is heightened in all of Hollywood. Okay, so you have a man who is taken into the occult sect of Hollywood. He is procured, he is put on front stage. You do know that there is always a blood oath, especially, yes, they're all boule. Very good, Corey, yes. Hey, what up, Mr. Corey? Corey's in the house, absolutely. You're all procured into the occult sect. So to be even put on center stage in front of masses, you've already taken on an oath, an agreement to be a party to certain parts of societal well, rather, certain parts of satanic and Luciferian activity that is not something that is put on Front Street. It's something that is done behind the closed doors. Okay, and at a time in the 60s and 70s, where you have heightened amount of civil rights, you know, a lot of picketing, a lot of boycotting, a lot of heinous activity going on with brown people trying to gain basic human rights at this particular time, in certain timelines. Most timelines experience this form of the civil rights being challenged, and a lot of activity going on with considered to be the arising of the melanin dominant mind, state of mind, asking and requiring for respect and dignity and for a sense of humanity in the way that they're treated by the society that they're coexisting in. Okay, so this is where the genre of Bill Cosby comes into play. You know, many of you are very young and it's beautiful, but you've studied history, but you don't see things from necessarily the forefront if you did not coexist or you weren't born at that time, where you didn't have that genre or actually a bird's eye view of people coexisting at that time, as I did. Okay, so Bill Cosby at the time had created a very stereotypical show called Fat Albert. Fat Albert had a lot of mixed signals because it portrayed a group of children that were the societal, really dealt with societal stigmas and what you consider to be stereotypes of brown people. You know, you had the big guy who was considered Fat Albert, his host of friends. Some of them couldn't talk, some of them stuttered, like yes, Fat Albert. You know, you had these characters that were created out of to tell a story. And actually, Fat Albert did have a lot of positivity, within the storyline of Fat Albert. But remember, on the outside of it, it really dealt with a lot of stereotypical ways that outsiders, when I say outsiders, Europeans and other racial complexions would view brown people if they're looking from them from an outer point of view. So it's interesting that he created a show, and I state this to you because I want you to see from the viewpoint that I'm seeing it, is that he created a show where he personally put stereotypical type of looking characters of brown people living in the hood. And remember how outsiders would see brown people who were living in the hood. So he basically gave a same picture, same stereotypical view of how brown people are perceived by some others, and he made it into a show, a cartoon, kind of giving the ideology of, you know, kind of like Medea does, you know, with giving, you know, good character, good character, morality stories, things that talk about ethics. Absolutely. But why is it that a brown man will create a show that utilize stereotypes that don't come from brown people, that outer people that see brown people would do? Why would he create a show that had the outer stereotypical view of brown people and it become so successful? Okay, I just want to state that first, because Fat Albert, if you watch it, if you get a chance to watch it, you'll see what I mean. If you watch it, you could be hypersensitive if you're conscious now, because you understand the stigmas and the stereotypes that were being programming. Thank you, Shadow Dancer. The programming of showing brown people in less than enamoring state of being. Okay? That's number one. So remember, I'm coming from that time. Remember, that show was out, I believe, in the late 70s, maybe 80s. And this was something that was programming the mindset of brown people, but also giving a platform to the viewpoint of outside people that see brown people in that state of being. Okay? So we have him who's done a masterful job as portraying himself as the father of the brown community. Now, from what we know also, he is part of the dominating occult sect of the Boule. And the Boule are a bunch of very brown, brown copper people that are part of the diabolical dark cabal. They're a sect of it, but they intercede and they have interplay amongst the Satanists and Luciferians, all in Hollywood. Okay, so they're all part of that. Now we take in consideration of who Bill Cosby was hanging with at the time that he was being accused of sexually molesting these women. Now, I will tell you this. I play those clips. I have absolutely no credence or I feel like most of them have a little credence and credibility as far as the depiction that he did as many heinous things as he did. Why? Is because remember, we're talking about a time frame where brown men weren't, it was not very common for a brown man to be with a lunar female. It wasn't really accepted to the heightened degree. Remember, we're talking about the civil rights era where there was a lot of upheaval racially, and this was not something that was very common or accepted. So the fact of the matter is that he was walking alongst the tight line of being in a societal position because he was a man in Hollywood playing amongst the elite, and he was placed in positions where he had access to women that normally would not be around a brown man in such a close proximity, in such an intimate way. Number one, okay? So he is in that part of society. Remember, as beautiful as Bill Cosby, we talked about the gin at the beginning, as beautiful as Bill Cosby built a beautiful reputation of being this outstanding father figure, this beautiful father to all of brown people, the one who is the forefront of what brown fatherhood should look like if it's healthy. On the underlay, we have to talk about, yes, thank you, we were just going to get into that. We have to talk about the fact that Bill Cosby used to hang out at the Playboy Mansion quite often and was hanging with a lot of the playmates, also with a lot of the lunar male elite that were doing diabolical things, especially engaged in orgies, forms of sexual bestiality. The playmates were known to be heightened in having vicarious sex with multiple men, women, animals, and sometimes dead bodies. Okay, this was something that was occurring in this realm that, remember, Bill Cosby was a party to. We're not looking at a man that's aged who's probably transformed a little bit over time. We're talking about a time when the man was at his heightened state of career where he's being allotted in a position around women that he was not supposed to be around. And in societal standards, there was a taboo of brown men even having sexual relations with lunar females. So let's take him being in there. Majority of these women that are accusing, if we look at their previous reputations, and I have to be walk very lightly with this, because we do know that women will get, be called, heinous names for engaging in the same sexual activities as males of the same paralysis and status. So I want to tread very lightly with this, because I also want to state the fact is that we're talking about a host of women that the majority of them were heightened in drug activity and were known to choose for themselves to engage in orgies and sexually explicit activities with multiple celebrities at this time, including Bill Cosby. So we take the atmosphere, we take the atmosphere that's going on at the time. We take a brown man who's never had this type of access to people that he deems to be heightened in wealth and status. And I'm sure there's a little ego involved in being around women that normally would not give him the time of day. And in society standards, he would never be able to have sexual liaisons with in any way without being hung, killed, and dragged on the street like a dog. Do I believe that Bill Cosby had sex with these women? Absolutely. Do I believe that he drugged them? Absolutely. Do I believe that he is being accused of things that many of his lunar males and females had done to the same or heightened degree? Absolutely. But the issue we have here is that we have a man who is being accused, and being tried and convicted of a crime that many, many have done. That does it take away from the activity that he's participated in? Absolutely not. And why is it happening? So we also have to talk about the fact that we've discussed this before. We've also had the discussion that when you're heightened in spirituality and you are an older soul, you will be held to a higher standard of ethical and morality in the base of how you are engaging in the matrix. What does that mean? I've discussed with you previously that when, let's say we're playing, I like to give you good examples of what I'm talking about. I talked to you about, I like to play Pac-Man back in the days. Pac-Man. Pac-Man is a game that many of you play. Some of you know, some of you heard of. It's like an archive game. It's like a relic. Okay. So at the beginning of Pac-Man, when you're a new player, listen to me, family. This is very poignant because I want to give you why there's certain people who are held to a higher amount of accountability than others. And this will give you a reason why he is being convicted and he is being sent to prison as opposed to his same colleagues who've done just as many things, probably more, to an excess. Okay. So at the beginning, when you play Pac-Man, you're new, you're a newbie. You don't really know what you're doing. You're one Pac-Man. You have cherries all over the place. You get points for cherries. You have one ghost that chased you in the game. You're coasting. You make it through that level like skippity-doo. Bam, you're out. Then you get to the medium part of the game, and you become more of a intermediate player. You kind of know the game, but you're not an expert. So you come into the game, you're one Pac-Man, you get cherries, but there's a couple ghosts coming at you. You got to kind of dip and dive a little bit. You got to kind of step up the pace, because if you don't step up the pace, eventually what happens is that you will end up being killed by the ghosts that are coming after you, right? Okay, so that's your intermediate. You kind of got it, but you're still kind of learning your way. After a couple more trials of gaining your position in Pac-Man, you get to an expert level. When you become an expert at Pac-Man, meaning you've stepped up on all the levels, you passed all the intermediate levels, you certainly passed beginners, then all of a sudden, you're in the game, but you got 50 million ghosts following you. You can't get a darn cherry to save your life. You're running and dipping in and out of the game. You're out of breath. You feel like you're going to die at any second. And sometimes you make it and sometimes you don't, because you've gained a certain amount of knowledge from going through certain levels and figuring out how the ghosts maneuver and how you can kind of get by and maybe gain some cherries and get some points along the way. Why I tell you this story and I give you that example is because there are souls here that are new souls. And new souls, or not even sparked souls, meaning spirits that haven't even gained the souls, are here for observation. They come into the existence of the matrix in avatars with the level of comfort and security that allows for them to view and observe from a cushy standpoint so that they can learn the perimeters of the game of raising your conscious level and gaining more spiritual astuteness. When someone is an advanced soul, they've gained this level of expertise. They've learned through previous incarnations and incarnations over and over, gaining knowledge over these levels of spiritual elevation, this evolutionary process as we go through recycling to come to this point. They've gained a certain amount of expertise, and they have a heightened amount of access to the Akashic records, which allows for them to be able to access ethical and moral standpoints that they've gained with information that they've gained by learning those in previous lifetimes. So, all this to say, and I've discussed this before, the people on the planet that were in previous home court advantage were not brown people. Bill Cosby was existing in a time when he was joining and being a party to an old boys group. He wasn't part of the group, but he was allotted some of the privileges and some of the perks of being with the old boys, but not actually getting a pass of being actually them. These beings that were newer beings had a more cushy existence. They weren't held to the same standards of the older soul, of a soul that has been here and is here to be able to absorb and gain wisdom and supersede the level that he has previously learned in previous incarnations. All I'm saying is that why it is that, my personal opinion is why it is that Bill Cosby is being held to a higher standard of accountability for his depraved behavior. And believe me, it's depraved. And we'll get in this conversation as well, because we're going to talk about why the young lady says that the black man is the devil. It's because he knows better. When you know better, you do better. He knew he was upholding himself as the father of brown families. He was the everyone's daddy. He knew, even with Fat Albert, that he was publicly upholding himself as a man who was an advocate for children, especially brown children from a lesser demographics of economics. He knew this. And for the fact of the matter, he was upholding himself like that as in his outer form, but in his back lay form, he was actually engaged in sexual depraved behavior that most men or most women sometimes in their youth engage with, but because he was exposed to a societal doorway that most don't have access to, he engaged with it in a more depraved, more higher field way because he was exposed to drug addicts, playmates that were, considered to be the standard of beauty. And they were giving themselves or doing drugs and allowing a brown man who doesn't have access to those type of women, access to them on a personal and a more intimate level. Now, some of the women will say that, they would have given him sex if he would have overtly asked for it. He didn't have to drug them. Now, this is where some of you need to have a level of maturity when discussing this, because the majority of conversations I hear very often are, why would he have to rape them if they would have given it to him anyway? You're absolutely correct. The difference is you're not taking in that most men, American men, have struggled with certain taboos that they have not resolved. I can tell you from experience, from being married to a man who preferred to have sexual activity with me when I was sick or when I was less overtly aware, that I know for a fact there are men, not only brown men, there are many men who would love and prefer to engage with women than when they're not aware, when they're not even awake. That is a type of taboo, that's a type of fetish, and that does occur with certain males and women. So it's not something that's so odd. That is something that as an adult, you should know that many people have weird fetishes. There are people who fetish licking people's toes. There are people who like to have sex with their clothes on. There are people who like to have sex with their clothes with the lights off. There's many different types of obscure sexuality that shows up. That's why when we have conversations about public figures, you put them on such a high standard of existence that you don't even see them as human. He was a brown man living in piloted times with a heightened amount of racial activity, piloted racial activity, and now he has access. And if you note, the only women that testified and came against him were lunar women. So he was not violating, to our knowledge, any brown women. This is also another component that no one's realizing, because the reason why Bill Cosby is also being convicted is because these women weren't brown. Remember, he's coming from home court advantage of the patriarchy where lunars are in home court advantage. He's playing in a game that he's really not anything but just he's just a guest. He's not really part of the old boys group. He's just a guest in their house. And he's sleeping and drugging women that are not of color. And because of that is why 40 years later, he is now being convicted. Had any of those women been brown, had the majority of those women been brown, Bill Cosby wouldn't have been convicted, nor would he have been put on trial, because home court matters. Beverly Johnson said he tried it with her, but she knew better. Okay. Could be you're saying the brown women were just maybe a little more aggressive. Oh, yes, lunar means, I use lunar to say, just like I use melanin dominant for brown people, I use lunar for European people, people of European backgrounds, if you're just coming to my site. So if you know better, you do better. This is why I tell many of our young C-stars and our elder C-stars, including myself, I have to live with the standard. All that you do in the dark or in the light, you will be held accountable for. The higher in consciousness you are, is the more that you will be held in accountability for your behavior, your depraved and good behavior. For that reason, the reason why Bill Cosby is going to jail and serving time is because he upheld a position of being a wonderful, clean, hospitable, beautiful father. And he was absolutely everything but that. But he probably had moments where he was like that. His daughter says he was the most wonderful father. And I don't doubt her. But the problem is you all put people on pedestals and think that he didn't do it because he's just a brown man, or he did do it because he's a brown man. The fact of the matter is, all you do, he could not go to jail if he was not in the frequency of this karma. So where he may have not raped all those women, maybe some of them were complicit in the sexual activity, which I think a lot of them were. And as we know, Janice was a drug addict and still is, to my knowledge. So the fact of the matter is that she was already engaged in heavy drugs. Remember, at the time, in the 70s, we didn't have anything. I think in the 70s, it was more like heroin, like more sedative type of drugs. So you had women who are doing heightened amount of drugs. These are very thin waif model types. So a lot of them didn't even eat. They were just drugged. And I'm not saying that all thin women, but at the time, this was a culture of activity. Remember, we're coming in from the 60s, the flower power age. Everybody was high on mushrooms, heroin, cocaine, LSD. I mean, this was a time where Hugh Hefner was at his heightened state of sexual depravity at the Playboy Mansion. People were invited there. I mean, we still have stories of people having orgy sex with numerous people on the property and being viewed by regular people walking by as if this was a normal occurrence. Okay. Also, if Bill Cosby was such a beautiful, wonderful person, he wouldn't have been accused. And also, by fathering another child by a young lady named Jackson, who he had an affair with while he was married to his wife Camille. So for all of you who sit here and like to defend him, it's not a matter of defending. Seeing somebody for who they are is beautiful, but putting them on a pedestal is damnation. He was by all means a regular person who was placed in a position of power and around powerful people and thought he was one of them. And he didn't realize that no matter, how many invitations he got to go to the mansions, that his behavior and what he did would have accountability to where they didn't. Now, yes, I'm saying that because he came into a time when he was not in home court advantage, it is a detail that he is a higher soul. Meaning that if you come into a cycle where you are not in home court advantage, we're not talking about the end of the cycle has already happened, but when you come into a cycle where you're not in home court advantage, like I talk about Pac-Man, how you come in the beginning of Pac-Man, everything's cushy, everything's good, you go to intermediate, it's kind of stressed, but you still can get some cherries. But at the final part of Pac-Man, when you've gained all this, you played, you kind of gained some skill set, that's when everything comes at you. So the fact of the matter is, being a melanin dominant person in a cycle where they were not in home court advantage meant that this was a higher soul, meaning the soul that can actually handle the amount of diversity that comes and be able and should be able to gain amount of wisdom and evolutionary process, spiritual process based on being in that cycle and have gained that knowledge and be able to supersede the adversity that comes at you from gaining wisdom over incarnation after incarnation. Newer souls don't have that. They come in a little more cushy. They're not here for that. They're here for the observation. For those for ascension, it's about graduation. So basically, you have to get it, you have to be accountable, and you have to know that with every bit of power and paralysis that you gain, there is a higher level of accountability that you will have that your others that are low in spiritual astuteness, they don't have the same accountability. I personally know men that and I was with somebody like that. That's what I'm saying. Some of you are just young-minded or not realistic. You're putting him on a pedestal. It's unnecessary. We don't have to damn him. We know why he's being imprisoned, but also there's a level of karma. He would not be in prison if he did not do something. Karma comes for those who are in the frequency of it. He's in the frequency, meaning that it doesn't matter if he raped 1 or 2 rather than 20, then he's still in alignment with the karma that comes with it. The interesting thing is that it's coming way later, meaning that his own crony, his own, I personally think the people backing him in the boule threw him underneath the bus. That's what I personally think. I think he was starting to become someone who was not going to be a party to certain things, and I think that also plays a factor in this. Why shouldn't those who are not aware we take responsibility for their act? Why shouldn't those who are not aware as we are? Because the more you know is the more you... Remember, you can't change what you don't acknowledge, and ignorance is bliss, okay? There's a reason why those statements occur, that those statements are made. You can only change what you acknowledge, and the more power you have or the more conscious state of being is the more accountable you will be. It's a fact. It is a spiritual fact, and it's also part of the universal laws. That's why they have to tell us things in predictive programming, because if they didn't tell us, then we wouldn't be accountable for our free will choices. Okay? There's it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So he's being set up, but he's in a frequency to be set up. Okay? So he's not as innocent as you think. You heard him in those videos that I just gave you that he was talking about. And remember, this is a time, previously, people tell you who they are. People will always tell you who they are. He was talking about Spanish fly. Did you see the smile on his face when he was talking about putting Spanish fly in women's drinks? Did you see his smile? That's a man who had been doing it and was proud of it and was brandishing it publicly because he didn't even know that this could further happen. Now, are these women right coming later? Absolutely. I can't really speak on that because at the point that I'm saying this is that some women, and this is knowing rape victims myself, some women feel more empowered if they hear another woman speak her truth. It's just like me as FleurBrun coming out saying I'm a brown copper contactee, and then you'll have other brown women who see something in me that they feel confident because they're like, okay, nobody's really, no one's calling her cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I can talk about my contact with ETs. You see what I mean? Sometimes people need a forefront, somebody who kind of fronts the bravery, and then other women come out. It happens all the time. This is not just because he's Bill Cosby and they're doing the same thing. This is something that happens on lower end rape scenes too, where you'll hear college frat boys who are very popular on the campus. I had a girlfriend. There were frat boys. She was a chunky girl, real pretty. They raped her. They gang raped her. And she was alone. She was real feisty and she spoke out publicly about them. Don't you know there were like 20 to 30 other girls who said they were raped by these same men, but they waited until she came out publicly? This is at college. They waited until she publicly talked about it and then they felt confident enough to speak about it. So this is not something that's an anomaly. Please don't stop saying that this is something that is being made up. I don't personally think that some women may have had some incentive. Maybe the boule gave him a little cash, gave him a little something, the boule. But personally, I know that he was in, now, if we're going to talk about Bill Cosby, he was in a time frame where the sexual depravity existed, and he was hanging out at the Playboy Mansion all the time. If you want to check receipts, all you got to do is look up his past. All you have to do is go to YouTube, look at some of the things that Bill Cosby used to do. Look, I found a couple of videos with him incriminating himself. So you don't have to go very far to see the genre of what was being represented at the time he was at his heightened state of celebrity. Okay, so that is what he was surrounded by. He was surrounded by a lot of depraved sexual beings. So you're gonna say to me he was in the Playboy Mansion reading the Bible, or sitting there talking about Jello pops, or talking about the brown boy's state of consciousness while he's around women with no panties, having full blown on sex in front of him? So you're gonna tell me that occurs? Let's leave a little bit of rationality here. Okay. So the fact of the matter, Hugh Hefner was the biggest. This is why I'm saying not everybody is left to the same standards of accountability. When you're in home court advantage of another type of genre, anything you do will be held, everything you say and do will be held against you in a court of law. I don't care how cool you are. That's why men are getting flame broiled right now in the female cycle. We're now in a different cycle where patriarchy is not in home court advantage. It's in the matriarchy. That's why you're seeing a lot of men being roasted. So do you see what's happening now? So remember, it's a different cycle. You're going to start to see the same things, the same applicable things that are applicable to what was compared to what was happening in the patriarchy, happening now in the female. Complicit behavior, making men more accountable for things that they used to get away with like nothing. All I want to do is leave a little rationality in the conversation, because you have such strong feelings about, now, do I like Bill Cosby? I appreciated how he was shown. I got what I needed for him being a father figure. He was upholding it. Did I pick up the frequency of good fatherhood and see what it had? I did, but I also had a good daddy. So I had it in my household. Did it help seeing that? Absolutely. Was it a positive thing for everyone to see him as a positive role model? Absolutely. Are they trying to put him on front stage to torch the brown man? Absolutely. Now we're going to get in a very piloted part of the conversation, which will maybe make some feel a certain way. But as you know, can't stop, won't stop. It is based on what I know to be. And this is why there is an issue. And this is something that you're not a stranger to me hearing about. Now, let me say this, brown men. Brown men, because I'm talking to the brown men here. You are being held on trial for crimes against humanity, okay? And I really need you to look at yourself in the mirror. I want you to look at yourself in the mirror, and I want you to really look at yourself well. Because the reason why brown men are being held and hung still in parts of the South, they're being still murdered in mass amounts. Brown men are still being killed like dogs, dirty dogs on the street with or without weaponry. Brown men are still being raped and killed and put in prison systems. Brown men are still being judged and, feminized on all television shows. Most brown men have to wear a dress if they want to be into the business for long periods of time. Do you know why this is happening, brown man? Because just like I started off with the video, with the young lady saying, is the brown man the devil? In some ways, she's not incorrect in questioning that. Why? Is because the majority of heinous activity happening to one particular female who's now in home court advantage on the planet is the brown man, what he does to the brown female. He has thrown the brown female under the bus, his daughter, his mother, his aunt, his cousins, his girlfriend, his child's mother, his wife. Many brown men, and I will say many, not all. Listen, the ones who don't do these things, they don't ever take it personally. The only ones who have issues with what I talk about, brown men, are the ones who get up and holler and hit me up in private messages coming at me. If you're a brown man who's a good father, you don't even have to talk about it. You just be about it. if you're a brown man who sits there and doesn't hurt your girlfriend or your wife, making her feel lesser because you got 20 million chicks, women, sidebars all up in your DMs, making her feel like she feels a certain way, that's you who does that. That's you who depraves your brown woman. Now, do other males do that? Yeah, maybe they do. But you know what's different about other males on this planet? The brown man is the only male on this planet that feels the most or least vested in protecting and standing by a brown woman and making her feel that she is supported and honored. It is a fact. I've sat in so many circles where you hear brown men talk about their brown wives, girlfriends, mothers in such a way that it would hurt your soul. Every brown woman I know, listen to me, I know, has been cheated on, lied to, beat up, talked about, thrown under the bus, her father left her. You know who that is? That's brown men. That's not lunar men who are hurting her, brown men. It's you. You lying and cheating and harming her, or leaving the household for your babies and your baby's children's mother to be susceptible to all kinds of infiltration. That's you. So is the brown man the devil? The question usually is in the conscious community, is the brown woman God? They usually say is the black woman God. My question to you, brown man, is the brown man the devil? Because every brown woman I know has a story that is tragic, and it only involves a face that is similar to ours. How dare you sit here and give and back this man, Cosby. Cosby has not been one of us for a long time. He wasn't one of you when he created Fat Albert, using caricatures and imagery that is not an imagery that we would do ourselves. It was an imagery of how others who hate us, who don't like brown people, see us. So why did he get such credence and credibility from that? Why did he get shows given to him after he made Fat Albert? Because he made a joke out of brown sadness and depravity. He made a joke out of children who had parents who were drug addicts, who maybe have a lisp and can't talk. He made a joke out of us. And then all of a sudden, he's given all this credence and notoriety because he's such a wonderful father figure. He was such a wonderful father figure, he could stick his penis in all kinds of women that looked totally different than his wife. And then he was such a great father figure that he had the audacity to have an affair with a woman, perhaps conceive the child that he tried to pay off publicly because he's such a good husband. Is that a Huxtable moment? Could you ever see Cliff do that to his wife on the show? Could you see him doing that to Felicia for Rashard? No, you couldn't. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to ask if the black woman is God, we have to also ask, is the black man the devil? Because everyone that I know has only been harmed by y'all. That's why you're being hunted down in the street. That's why you're being put on Front Street. And that's why you're being made accountable. Because if you're not there for us, you're going to be thrown under the bus like you threw us. So at the end of the day, no, I'm not putting my stake in defense in a man that I know wasn't even a good father figure based on his penile lack of self-restraint as a man who put himself as a djinn in front of people acting like he was all good in the hood. Meanwhile, he was back in the dorms with Becky. Now, I'm not disrespecting brown men that sleep with lunar women, but I'm saying if you're supposed to be the epitome of brown man and you all about activism with brown people, why is it that the women that you were drugging and having sex with, whether it was 1, 2, or 1,000, were all women that look opposite of your daughter and your wife? So I say, if he's on trial, if he was convicted, so let it be. Karma does not wait, and it will find you at your least expected moment. For all these men who sit there and leave their families, who leave their daughters, let all these women be hurt and harmed, you are on trial right now, brown man. And the question now for the next 20 years while we're in our cycle is the brown man the devil? I'm tired of hearing stories about brown men saying, oh, the white man did this. Oh, the white man did this. What did you do to your own family, brown man? You hanging on corners while your baby's mother's at home crying because she's got sidebar chicks calling her back to back, talking about how you was sticking it in them raw. What kind of brown man are you? Having babies all over the planet with no accountability. Where are you, brown man, for the little daughters who are sitting there crying because they have to go to schools where they have daddy-daughter dances and they don't have a father? Where are you, brown man, when a man comes into your baby's mama's household raping the child because you left her for another woman that probably had less or nothing even close to what you had at home when you had a child with her? Y'all are some dirty bastards. And yes, him being arrested is in karmic, it is in karmic alliance. I don't feel bad for him. Do you feel bad for a man who can go on a show and blatantly talk about Spanish fly? Did you see the episode I showed you on Fat Albert when he said when he was a little boy, little girls used to always find out what he was doing wrong? Did you not see that? Replay this clip and see the clip I played at the beginning. That is a testament to himself. He is supposed to be a higher soul. He had to be more accountable because he was the father of Black conscious awareness, and he's not aware. If he was, he wouldn't be sleeping with all kinds of Beckys being disrespectful. Now, I'm not talking some racial component. I'm just saying, if you about this brown life, then you would marry and only sleep with women who look like you. I know lunar men that are amazing to their wives, and they have wealth. And the one thing I say is if they stick in it, nobody knows about it. But you know what brown men do? They do it publicly. You got people like Cardi B who has a man Offset going raw and strippers. You have people like Mary J. Blige who has a man who just blatantly goes out and does his dirt. You have people like Halle Berry, who's supposed to be the epitome of beauty, who has to have brown men beating her up while she's a superstar and have to hide her scars where she goes out publicly. You have Beyonce, who's the epitome of sexual appeal, who has a brown man, Jay-Z, who likes to hit up women, beat women publicly when they're taking pictures of him, and then he's sleeping with all kinds of women that don't look quite like his wife. So at the end of the day, brown man, this is a trial for you. You're all being convicted for the dirt that you do. And if you don't do dirt, you shouldn't be sitting with a whole bunch of dirty dogs who are doing it. Because the fact of the matter, when you're sitting there amongst your homies, sitting there complacently hearing how they talk disdainfully about their wives and their girlfriends, or how they just hit it with another chick, or hit it with his girlfriend's mother or sister or girlfriend, and you sit there complacently, you too will be on trial. I'm sorry. That will be the premise of the platform. Is the black man the devil? And the black man is the devil. Listen to the B and the lack. The black man is the devil. This is a man that he is now going into conscious state of being, all this super conscious community. All they're doing is using it for a come up and to get as many yonis possible to put on their belt. How many of the conscious community are all polygamous? All of them have multiple women that they're sleeping with. And the majority of these women are feeling less than they should. They're feeling like they're not worthy enough to have a man just be with just them. Y'all are dirty dogs. And until you come right, listen, I should have played the color purple. Until y'all come right by us, you are going to pay for every bit of crimes you've done against our women and our children. When you look at Africa, you look at all the genocide, those are brown men doing that to brown women. How dare you sit up here and have a chance to even defend this man? I don't give a hoot if he did it 20,000 years ago. You gonna pay for doing anything like that. And if he was decent and honorable, he would have came up front. Maybe if he made some sort of restitution for his depraved sexuality, wanting to have sex with women when they're asleep. Now, let me not get hyped up, family. Hold on. I'm sorry I'm yelling at you. Full moon in Aries. Big up to the full moon in Aries. Fire in the yard. Listen, I remember listening to that video years ago. Whew. Okay, I remember listening to the video years ago of the women talking about are black men the devil. And I listened to the stories, and every story I heard was something I knew personally that happened to me. Remember, I picked a brown man who was the most abusive to me than anyone on this planet. He was a dirty, disgusting dog. He did it to every woman of color the like. But as soon as he got a woman that was not a certain look, he treated her better. Brown men are the enemy to the brown women, right? But the black, no. Let me retract that. I'm sorry. The black man is the enemy to the brown woman on the planet right now. And until you see the errors of your ways and come right by us, you are going to pay, because we're in our home court advantage. We don't have to lay down with you anymore. We've got a lot of choices, and we will make sure that every last one of you dirty dogs is made accountable. I'm sick of hearing every brown man doing dirt to every brown woman. Why are you doing this? And then you hear a brown man who's done this to lunar women, and he's being made accountable only because he came out of the cycle. But he gets it for being complacent and living a lie and being a djinn in public and acting one way and being something totally behind the door. Do you know how many good men I know that treat women well, that get talked about like dogs by their homies? I know some good fathers, some good men who are called punks and lay downs by other men because they're good to their wives and their children. How backwards is that? Some of you C-stars need to make these males accountable. Stop lying with these dirty dogs. If he's sitting there telling you a lie about who he's with, he's lying to you more than that. Stop lying with them. Stop giving them any yoni. Make it a point to walk away from some of these clowns and let them get the accountability that they deserve. And don't watch them being slayed in the street and feel empathy for any one of them. Because at the end of the day, why are they there? Why are they being put on Front Street? Karma comes, and sometimes it comes in genres. So until the brown men come right by us and protect us and honor us, I'm not saying the dirty ones that we are, that we can be. I'm not saying that. But until I know more beautiful brown women that are so the bomb. I know brown women. I know 90% of the women I know are so beautiful and loving and healthy. It is a shame how they're being treated. It is heartbreaking how they get treated. It is heartbreaking how men could walk away from their children with some of these beautiful women and go and get a woman that is less to the standard than the one that he had and had children with, and feel nothing for his children. Or the men that walk out of households and don't even care how these little children walk around with stigmas of being in a fatherless house. You dirty dogs. You're nasty. And for all those going into polygamy, having multiple women back to back to back, you're just as nasty, because you have no idea what that woman feels like to be in constant competition with somebody else in her household, because you told her she wasn't enough, that you had to keep getting another one and another one, because you lack self-restraint, you lack self-conviction, you lack self-awareness, and you have a lack of self-esteem that you can't even dedicate yourself to one woman without having multiple women feeling less than. You're just dirty demons. All jinns. We have something for you. We have something for you. If you come for any of our C-stars again, walk away. Yes, go to the lower women who are not as conscious, who are very complicit to be with your dirty behinds, and allow you to talk to them any which way, allow you to sleep with whomever you want. Go to them, because we are intolerant of you right now. I am tired. I am so exhausted from hearing the dirt and sadness of our females. Brown females. I hear it from my lunar females, but I hear it more so from my brown females. I know more lunar men who are more dedicated to their women than any brown man around on this planet. It's very sad. I'm sorry. Let me burn my Palo Santo. Happy full moon in Aries. Hold on, let me change the energy here. Fire in the yard. How many brown men in here say, or in the conscious community talk about, is a black woman God? How many of them say that? And then go around and do the most depraved things and do the opposite of everything they denote that we are. If the brown woman's God, how is it that the brown woman is the most demonized on this planet? She's the least protected on this planet. Her offspring are the most hunted on this planet. So if the black woman is God, what does it say to the black man? Who are you? Because I don't see women of color being treated like gods and all set. I see places in Africa where these women and children are running from their lives, raped by brown black devils in front of their children. You're all demons. You're all jinn. I plan to make this planet a safer place from all of you. And the first person on the list is some of you demon, dark souls that need to be held accountable. So if Bill Cosby is the forefront of accountability, I say let him go down. Let him be the example of what you're not supposed to do. Don't sit here and play like you're our father, play like a good father figure when you're a really depraved, perverted, old bastard. And karma got you when you couldn't even run from it. How many women didn't come forward? Because they didn't have the capability, or maybe they didn't want to embarrass themselves. Let me burn my Palo Santo. Everybody laughs at the movie Color Purple. I dare you to watch The Color Purple and watch that brown man rape his daughter. Rape his own daughter. And they show this to you. Maybe you shouldn't watch it. Don't watch it. You might get hostile. Rape his own daughter. And then have a child with her. And then send her away to get married to a rapist and a bastard. I almost died being with one of those black devils. I had a black devil. Occasionally he calls and I let him know he's the devil. I tell him I know who he is. I remind him of the pain and the hurt and harm that he did to me. But I also thank him for every bit that he did, because I recognize a black devil when I see them. I recognize you and I run or I fight you. And in recognizing a black devil, I tell you, thank goodness I am grateful for the experience in the boot camp, because I found a beautiful soul who is every bit of everything that I didn't know about what I wanted, and now I know what I desire. All you demons are going to be on trial. Best believe. Bill Cosby's one that's being put on Front Street. And all of you are going to be shot down like dirty dogs if you don't come right by us. I'm tired of it. Why don't you men do something? We were supposed to make a day when brown men took out brown boys. Why don't you make better brown boys, men? You leave the household. The prison system is full of lost boys because you're all a bunch of cowards. You run away from your families because you are the one who's insecure. It's not the one that you left. It's y'all. How do you leave your family and leave your children to just fend for themselves, you demons? Then call your ex-girlfriends and your wives crazy because they didn't want to tolerate your demon behinds. Sitting up here having multitude of women having children back to back. Do you know how many polygamists I know where the girls are sitting there crying because they hear the men having sex with the other woman and it makes them feel like garbage? We have to be better. We have to want better. If we want better children on this planet, we're going to have to be the ones to do it, because the black man is the devil. And Bill Cosby is on the forefront and precipice of that. And not because he necessarily raped women, it's because he was complicit in a system that allowed that to happen. You're a beautiful brown man. You making these shows. You're supposed to you're talking to brown people saying how we're supposed to love each other, but you're raping Becky and you're drugging her. Yeah, you're really a testament of a good father figure. I feel happy for Camille. Camille, take this time and have yourself a dandy time of freedom and let him be locked up so that maybe you'll have some peace of mind and not be embarrassed by him any longer. He embarrassed you. Let him be embarrassed like the way that he embarrassed you every time a woman came out and said she was sleeping with him while he was married to you. Let it happen. Stop defending his behind. Free Camille. I hope she gets a spa. I hope she gets time for herself. And I hope that she even gets some masterful wand that is on her dirty, disgusting husband that is now being accountable for the stuff that he may have done and may not have done. But it's all in his karmic debt. Who said I'm cheerleading lunar males? I'm not a cheerleader of lunar, because I'm talking about brown males does not mean I'm talking bad about lunar males. I don't even care. Listen, I mate with brown males. I am a brown woman. I was reared by a dad who was brown and a mommy who's brown. My self-esteem and how I feel about myself denotes the type of partner that I'll pick. So the fact of the matter is, I appreciate my genetics and who I am, so I choose men who look like myself. Whenever people choose the opposite of what they look like, it's because they've been traumatized by something that they were raised in or an environment that made them think that something outside of what they look like was better. That's all it is. All these wealthy brown men who end up marrying people that look so indifferent to them, they lack self-esteem. It is a fact. Unless they grew up now, there's times when men and women grow up in neighborhoods where they're surrounded around people who look different than them. That's a little different because they're reared in that situation. I'm talking about brown men who end up making Bilderberg money, who end up being with women that look different from them because they hate themselves. Men who love themselves don't go and date anybody else. If you love yourself, you want an image of yourself. Why do people hate that? It's the truth. I know tons of lunar people who love themselves. You know how admiring? Listen, my girlfriends, I have some girlfriends from, my one girlfriend's from Ireland. My other one's from Denmark. I have a couple other girlfriends from other ones. They're lunars. They're beautiful. They have beautiful curly, one has curly blondish hair with blue eyes. The other one has more like reddish kind of straight hair with green eyes. Do you know what kind of men they like? They like men that look like their fathers. They like men that look like their dads. And they marry men that look like their fathers and their family. And would I ever say to them, oh, you hate brown people because you don't want to be with them? They can find brown men attractive, but the men that they're attracted to are men that look like them. You know why that doesn't happen with brown people? Because brown people suffer from the most Stockholm syndrome of any being on this planet. Y'all hate yourselves. And don't worry, I wasn't too far behind you or ahead of you. Because for me to pick a black devil to be with and marry him, because I hated myself too. I absolutely hated myself. For me to be with a sadistic bastard, with a Nazi who treated me like garbage, though I was as sweet as pie as him. Remember, I came from a good family. I'm a little feisty. I can't say I was perfect. But for the most part, I treated him well. He was a devil. He treated me like garbage. Even now, if I give him the opportunity, he still wants to do it. We are all suffering from Stockholm syndrome, brown people. I'm going to tell you the truth. Brown men who don't like brown women hate themselves. They don't want to raise any more brown people. They've seen too much trauma. They want to date women that give them babies that don't have that same kind of trauma. And traumatized brown women, you're going to raise little brown boys that are traumatized that don't want to date anybody who looks like you if you still be mad and mean in your household. Never smiling, giving hugs and kisses because you're so deprived and mad at the world because of how you've been treated. You two are going to raise one of these black devils. Yes, I was with the black devil. You wonder why some of these women don't even want to mess with men anymore. Do you blame them? I'm hot. Brown man, look at yourself in the mirror. Brown man. Look at yourself in the mirror, brown man. Can you see it? Brown man, look at yourself. You're a demon. You need to be exercised. You need help and healing. But we're not going to do it for you. You got to do it for yourself. You're disgusting. You treat the brown women disgusting. You deserve everything that comes with you karmically. Until you do right by us, you're going under. We don't need you. Some of us are already giving birth through the process of parthenogenesis. There's a few kind men left. We're going to mate with him. We want you gone. We're going to get rid of you if you don't go by choice. We're intolerant all over Indonesia, everywhere. We're going to take you out. We can't take you anymore. You're the devil. All you do is reproduce seedlings like yourself. We don't want to give birth to your demons. I'm going to rebuke you as soon as I get off YouTube. Bill Cosby, we see you. And not all of us are in here cheering you or being boohoo with you. We know what you are and know what you represent. The Boule don't even want you anymore. Okay, they threw you under the bus because probably you decided to do some good at the end, but you did too much dirt. You were lying with women that you knew you shouldn't have been with anyway. And that's why you're paying for it. You thought you could jump in to the circle just like what's his name? What was that? The other Satanist. What was his name? I forgot his name. Anyway, you thought you could jump into the old boys group with a bunch of lunar males that are very wealthy. They let you in. They think you like the cool brown man. You're like the token of the group. You make jokes. Hey, hey, hey. You're joker. You're the jokester. Everybody loves you because you're a clown. Remember, you're a clown to them. They don't like you. They don't like you. You're a token. You're amusement to them. You're not one of them. That's why you've been arrested and tried 20 years later because you were never one of them. You made the mistake and thought that you were put into that situation because you were better. No, you're still the brown man from the hood that most people see as garbage. And you took your own people and put yourself in a position that was a lie, and now you are paying for it. And if you think I'm a liar, why don't you look it up yourself? Someone said, hey. Why don't you look it up yourself? Why don't you do some due diligence instead of defending the man, saying that it's wrong? Everything is in karma. If you are in the frequency of the karmic debt, you are going to have it. It doesn't matter where you sit, how many years later. If you're in the karmic frequency, it will come for you. I agree. Women should listen. In the past cycle, we have so many wounded warrioresses right now from the past cycle. It's going to be a very hard. We're in a new cycle. It still feels like there's a fight. but we're going to have to choose better battles than to sit here and act like Bill Cosby is the epitome of Jell-O, pops, and fatherhood. He wasn't that. He had an image of that, and we should look at it as just an image. The image of him was beautiful. The Cosby Show was beautiful. That whole concept of a beautiful father who would do anything and was astute and loved his family beyond the perimeters of anything most of us have ever had happen in our own personal lives. It was beautiful. It is absolutely amazing. But it's a lie. It's not who he is. Stop putting people on pedestals, including myself. It was an act. It was a show. It was a television show. People, stop it. It was on television. What do you think? They got T.I. playing a family man with his sick wife who may go blind from dyeing her eyes blue on networks. This is a man who was a notable drug dealer. Now he's got a family show. Do you really believe this? They will put anything in front of you to create a program so you buy it. Now, I don't say he deserves to be in jail for cheating. What I'm saying is that whenever you are at a position where you're supposed to uphold yourself, there will be a higher amount of accountability. That's all I'm saying. If he wasn't the poster child of black familyhood, black or brown familyhood, let's say that. If he wasn't the poster man of brown familyhood, then he would not be held to the highest standard of accountability. Do you see what I'm saying? He could have just been anybody else. You know how many brown men probably rape women, lunar women, brown women? It happens. But the reason why he's getting karmic debt in the way he is because he put on a front that fooled people, and these bastards, these dark Kabbalists, they want to put him on, to hang him publicly. To show you, this, look, brown people, you could join us. You could try to be part of the Bilderbergs, but we gonna get you. We gonna wait. Like OJ. OJ thought he was all part. Listen, OJ thought he was the bomb.com. He had a whole bunch of lunar friends. He felt like he was above reprieve. He was above, consequences. He was that man, OJ. He was everybody's man. He was on Kellogg commercials. What happened when his wife died? He was beating his lunar wife. And then she died. He got off, right? But did he really? Look what happened years later. Years later, he's got trumped up charge. I said trumped up. It's relative. Trumped up charges later for something else and still ended up doing prison time because karma does not need your permission. It does not need our acknowledgement. It will come for you. Did he murder her? I don't know if he did. But is he complicit and upholding himself in a way that was looking like a good guy when he really wasn't? Absolutely. So that kind of imagery, you're very dangerous to play with that type of imagery because what happens is that dualistic quality of the environment will come and get you. He was hung basically for this. You cannot, in this world, try to uplift black people on a scale. I don't say that. I think what the issue is that we put people on pedestals and it will make you feel it's part of the matrix too. It's like perfectly set up to make them fall in front of you, to show you the dualistic side of people. I think that's one aspect of it. I think that's all it is. But if there's another aspect is that when you know better, you do better. Bill Cosby knows better. He knew better at the time. He knew better at the time than hanging out at the Playboy Mansion. He was just so enamored by the lifestyle, he got caught up in it. And he got away with it to a certain degree, to be honest. If he did it, like I said, I don't think he raped 20 million women. I don't think every woman that's accusing him of rape, it's true. I think, again, some of these women were complicit in the behavior, whether they were out of it or not. And I don't think he was the first person to sleep with them when they were drugged up. This is my opinion. I think Janice was a drug addict. We all know it. She's talked about it. She's publicly talked about it. Many of the women who accused Bill Cosby of raping them, a lot of them were on drugs. They've all admitted to it. Most of them, to my knowledge. I want to state that because I don't know that for a fact, to my knowledge. And for the fact of the matter, I'm sure he was not the first person to sleep with them when they were unconscious. And I'm sure he wasn't the last person to sleep with them when they were unconscious. Keeping it real. So at the end of the day, he did what probably the majority of his cronies, his homies were doing. The difference is he was Bill Cosby, the father of brown families. The Jello Pop man who was about brown healthiness and talked about ethics and morality as if he was living that way. But he was a djinn. Don't start none, won't be none. And like I said, for every brown man that does harm to brown females, you will be held accountable in this cycle. We have little or no tolerance for the nonsense. This heartache of all of these beautiful brown women that sit around waiting and trying to heal themselves, doing yoni cleanses. Do you know how many wonderful, beautiful sea stars? They're doing yoni cleanses, they're fasting, they're trying to heal themselves. Do you know how many of the brown men that violated them are doing the same? None! None! You know why? Because they don't feel like they have to change. So if you don't feel like you have to change, black devil, the environment will do it for you. That's why the prison systems are getting more crowded. I'm disgusted by the complicity of people who feel like they should defend a man who is in opposition of everything that he put on Front Street. If I tell you that I am a virgin and I play a virgin on television and I make it seem because the imagery that is supposed to be perpetuated with a virgin is being astute and being kind and being loving and acting like, and meanwhile, I'm dropping it like it's hot with every man I get behind the scenes. What does that say? So, yeah, a lot of brown women are complicit. Especially the church ones are complicit. Y'all sit here and would defend a brown man for going to prison, but you won't even raise an eyebrow for a woman being raped. You'll sit and judge the woman being raped, but you will defend with your own life a brown man if he's even brought up on any trumped up charges. R. Kelly's another one, but R. Kelly is the devil. R. Kelly's a black devil. Okay? What's his name? The other guy's a black devil. Omar Johnson is a black devil. Okay? What's that other guy? Yada is a black devil. Brother Polite is a black devil. No, listen, I don't believe every woman that said he raped them. First of all, I don't believe every woman they said was raped. I personally don't. I showed you the clips. Janice was a drug addict. I'm not saying it was. Zanetta is the devil. Thank you, Betrayer. I don't believe. I personally. What was I gonna say? Oh, Nature Boy is a beast. He's a savage. He is the devil. I've been with the devil, so kind of by association, I was touched and sleeping with the devil, so I had some devilish ways. Oh, you said the woman he convicted. What did you say? Hold on. Let me hear this. Dashe says the woman who he was convicted of raping can be proven. They're all Dashe, I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. They're all liars. They're all savage. The women that are talking like the women are accusing Bill Cosby of raping them. They're savages. They were all complicit. They were all dirty. I agree with you. I don't believe 90%. I don't believe a lot of what they're saying. I agree with you. That I agree with. Okay? But it doesn't take away that he was putting up an image. See, what we don't realize is that it's dangerous right now to live in a way that you are the opposite. Remember, shadows are coming out. The age of Aquarius will disallow you from living a lie. It will disallow you from being able to live a front street. Okay? It will disallow you. That's why somebody says, "Oh, FleurBrun, why do you drink coffee Starbucks knowing it's the devil?" What they say, Starbucks is the devil, whatever they say. "Why are you drinking Starbucks publicly?" Because I'm being who I am. I could sit here on YouTube fronting like I'm drinking green juices when I'm not. I'm keeping it real. I have little reason to be in lie. Well, I'm a woman of a certain age, so I don't really care anymore. Maybe when I was younger, I had more. It could be when I was younger. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Until your mind conforms to the oneness, you will continue to be perceived your reality through the eyes of duality. I agree, Daryl. Very good point. Oh, 7. Who has 7? Bomar. Is he the devil? I don't know. Someone asked if young Pharaoh is the devil. Is he? I don't think so. I still see young Pharaoh as a child. And that's not disrespectful. He's a young man. How old is young Pharaoh? Remember, he could be my son. So remember, my perception, my perceived perception is different with children. People I perceive that can be in my child's age. So I have little people, but I'm just saying, I don't know. I see young Pharaoh's name coming up here a lot. Remember, how old is he? 25? Okay, maybe I see him. Maybe I still see him as a little, because I've seen him for a long period of time. Maybe I still see him as an 18-year-old. I still see him as a young man, still learning himself. But if he does anything devilish, then he's a devil too. I don't know. Young Pharaoh has a lot of heart. 25 is very young. Yeah. I think young Pharaoh is also a result of a young man raising himself. He talks oh, he has a son, Maitreya? I didn't know he had a son. Okay. Young Pharaoh also talks about his rearing. He really does. He's very candid about how he was raised. I have probably more compassion for that young man because I see him as someone who could have been my son's age. I could have given birth to him. Okay. So that's probably why I don't see anything he's doing publicly, but I don't follow him in a way that I would see anything. But I'm sure many of you, if you think that he's done something that's reprehensible, you would know. Okay. He's got a son. Oh, he's got a son. Well, yes, absolutely. Everyone who has a child needs to be accountable. We cannot co-sign a black man's constitutional rights being violated to get a conviction. All men need to be convicted if they did crimes against humanity. Yeah. Oh, young Pharaoh. Young Pharaoh, some of you see I'm a little more lenient with him. I don't really have much to say. He's a young man. I've seen him grow up on YouTube. I know that he's reared himself for the most part. I think his grandmother raised him. I have more compassion for a young man reading books, teaching lectures, when he could be selling drugs, which he said he used to do before. He doesn't do it anymore. Anytime I see a young man make a quick turn and conform him and reconstruct himself in a positive way, I'm really a fan of that. So at the end of the day, I really feel that he's trying. Yeah, young Pharaoh is like a diamond in the rough. Yes, he's growing up. He's growing up before you, and he's been attacked by many elders. Oh, he dragged Dr. Mayat. Who? Maitreya. Who did that? Someone said, "Don't come for young Pharaoh." Yeah, he's a young man. I think some of us as elders need to be a little more lenient with young people. I think as elders, when you see a young man showing up in a way that I think is positive, again, I think we need to allow that to show and manifest, because when he's so young, remember again, we've got young Pharaoh who's been on the internet for a little while now. I think maybe 5 years since he was. So if he's 25, he was on. I think he was on from 18. We've got to allow him to grow a little bit, okay? And he's rearing himself. I don't see a father figure taking onus of that young man. Where's his father? I would make his father more accountable. I would love to see his father show up and see where he shows up and show accountability, because from my understanding, he's been reared by a woman on her own, and it was a grandmother, to my knowledge. He just turned 25. Okay, he's a young man. Okay, so we don't want to talk about children. I'm not sitting here. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be accountable if he does something dirty, but I'm just saying, why are we talking about? Okay. Certain things I don't know. What I know, I address. Where was I? Where was I? I just went up a bar. You have to allow people to, okay. But what I say, when I make, I'm sorry. Okay, what I have to say is this. Everyone's really, really hypersensitive with Bill Cosby. I have a very strong stance, though, and I stand in that position firmly. I don't have to follow anybody else's lead. I am a woman of a certain age. I've lived enough on this planet. I've seen enough people's disposition to have a good, healthy, balanced sense of perspective. I just do. I'm not saying it's the highest, but I'm just saying that, I see things in a more broad perspective. I've traveled this planet. I've lived a certain life, and I've seen things. And for that part, I just say to myself that instead of putting him on a pedestal, I think also that's also why he's being arrested. Because brown people put him on a pedestal, which he did not deserve. And that also allowed for the dark cabal to put him and hang him on a high noose and hang him in front of you for spectacle, for pure spectacle, and for programming. That's why they're hanging him, is because many people put him on a pedestal. Uh-oh. They're going in on you. Pretty patience. That's very smart. Don't follow anyone's lead. And don't put anybody on a pedestal, including myself. I tell you, if you see one thing with me, you'll see me publicly. People see me all the time. If they see me, sometimes they see me out and about in my neck of the woods, once in a blue. They see me, they're like, "Oh my God, you're just like you are." I am who I am. But fronting is unnecessary when you're healthy. When you're healthy, hiding is unnecessary. The issue that many people have is you put brown people on higher pedestals because you want them to be your savior. It's like a Jesus Christ moment. You want every brown person who's on the public eye to be Jesus Christ. They're fallible, all of them. They're all of them. People put Umar Johnson on a pedestal. He is disgusting. He's probably the least person in the conscious community. I dislike him the most. Nature Not, I just think he's a savage. Nature Not is not even worth having conversations about because he is mentally ill. That man is mentally ill, that he is a product of the foster care system that failed him. They created a beast. This is what I'm talking about. Brown fathers leaving their children to just stay out there and be victimized by the system. That has to do with brown men's complicity. Brown women listen, and I tell you all the time, brown women in society, women in society can raise both children of both sexes healthy. But the issue is when you have brown men that are hostile, that are abusive, That's not allowing a brown woman to raise her children, both sexes, healthy, when she has to put up guards to block herself. Sometimes her children may get the ricochet. Do you see what I mean? So a lot of times what happens, we can't keep giving passes. Oh, the brown man, oh, because he's been victimized. We've been programmed. So why aren't we showing up the same? Why aren't we choosing other people to date and marry to the degree that brown men are doing? You know why? Because we're healthier. Don't give them passes. Many people are like, oh, brown men, oh my God, he's been traumatized. You know how many brown women are traumatized but still raise healthy children and still pick brown people to marry? So don't give them passes. Stop it. That's a complicity. That's a social complicity that happens in the brown media. It's hard for me to follow the black man in this time. They are not strong leaders. So these men and guys are talking about it. I have no comments because they don't teach me anything. That's right, Copper Queen. Jamie just said it. They don't teach you anything that you don't already know. And a lot of them are vampiric. A lot of the stuff that some of these brown men are teaching are just things that brown women teach that don't get as much credibility and don't get credit for. I never saw Bill Cosby as an idol. I liked what he played on television because I have some self-awareness and I have some, I have some discernment. I didn't see him as the real character on the show. I didn't see him as Huxtable. I saw him as a man playing a character on television. That's it. So when these accusations came out, it didn't shock me. I didn't put him on a pedestal. It didn't shock me. I wasn't going to go yay or nay for him. You said I'm not well informed on affairs of black people? Who, me? Who said that? You said I'm not well informed on the affairs of brown people? You do realize I'm brown, but it doesn't mean I'm informed. But you do realize that I was educated beyond my Google, because remember, I'm a woman of a certain age. We didn't have Google. So I was educated beyond the perimeters of Google, okay? I actually used to go to libraries. I actually was educated in City University of New York, and I had some of the most probably militant brown professors, including Professor Jeffries, which many of you know. That's why remember, Professor Jeffries was actually best friends with, he was friends with Dr. Africa and also with Dr. Z. York, okay? So remember, I've been educated amongst people, the most astute brown people, and not only in the States, but abroad, okay? Because I come from a culture where we are not disallowed true history. Like here in the States, many of the history books only have a perspective from a slave's point of view as brown people, or from a victim's point of view. I've been educated, that my education has been expounded, where I've been educated with people from abroad, where I've been allowed to see victors and brown people and the true perspective from the outer layers of the United States of America. A lot of the education here is highly, highly indoctrinated, and it comes from a perspective of victimhood. Okay, that's why a lot of brown people here deal with a lot of victimhood in their consciousness, because they only see from the perspective that they've been taught or conditioned. You have to go outside. That's why traveling to Africa helps, traveling to other Caribbean islands help, traveling to Europe helps. It helps to expound your level of expression and what you're exposed to. A lot of times what happens is that people here get set on the perimeters, the limitation of the perimeters of the education that they're allotted. And then some get some chronic, some information from hostile people. So it further indoctrinates them into feeling like everything is against them. Okay. You already know. I made a video on Umar Johnson. The people, and he hates brown women. I say that Dr. Umar Johnson he has resentment towards brown women. He does not like brown women. Okay? He does. Tariq, I don't know too much about Tariq. Is a dangerous thing to not accept justice for everyone. Yeah, justice should be for everyone. Who said that? Honestly, Black Americans are mentally. I just, I don't want to laugh because remember, I've been raised, I'm first generation American. My parents are not from the States. I spoke another language when I was born. So also the way that I see language and the bastardized language of English, I see it from another perspective. That's why some of the way I think shocks people sometimes because they don't understand it. I'm a woman of color, and also I see things from a different perspective from a person who's not necessarily English native, okay? And because I come from people abroad, I see things from another. Oh, Tommy Semior is the devil. Oh, thank you deeply. And look at my eyesight. Thank you deeply. Yes, Tommy Semior is the devil. Hey, Sensei, big up. Brown men who hate brown women tell me they're traumatized. They hate their mothers and themselves. That's right. Thank you, Sensei. Yes. Brown men who have been abused or neglected by their brown mothers end up being devils. So most of the black devils come from women who have reared black devils, whether they've known it or not. They are the producers of black devils. Ling Lang said if Bill raped any women, he deserves what he gets. I agree. I agree that all men who rape women need to get what they deserve. But this is our cycle. I don't see many men in here. Did I scare away all ours? I think some of our men. I think I scared away a lot of my male subscribers. I'm sorry. I love males. Obviously, you see that I have a healthy perspective from mating. Remember, I have a mate, okay? And I adore him. I appreciate him. And I adore him from a healthy standpoint, okay? So I do have a perspective that doesn't translate in how I engage with brown men. I am with a brown man that I love and adore. I adore him beyond the perimeters of time and space, at least now. Big up Kurt. I do. So a lot of times when people hear this conversation, they'll throw daggers. They'll say, "Oh, she's a feminist." Not. Zero. There's zero feminists here. I'm farthest from a feminist that you will ever see. Feminists actually have the most issue with me because I have love and respect for healthy brown men. Okay, so healthy men, just period. Okay, healthy men. Okay, so and I'm not a lesbian because most people will feel that I'm a lesbian because I speak so healthy and balanced in speaking against the atrocities of how males treat females on this planet. And because of that, there is this consensus that all times that women speak against the atrocities against the women, that they think that you're automatically a lesbian or a feminist. I am 0-0 that. So call me an anomaly, what it is. I love being with brown men. I pick men that look like me because I have a healthy sense of self-love. My genetics is something I appreciate and I want to replicate my genetics. So I will choose a man that looks like into myself. So I am a brown woman that is in self-love. So when you speak from when someone tells me they love themselves and they're so proactive in being called Black consciousness and Black activism, and then I see them being with people that are an opposite of everything that they say that they love, I know they're suffering from some form of Stockholm syndrome. I appreciate no actors get to be on TV at the level of Bill Cosby while Black if the person is not high level or Freemason, but is in fact that all Black men. Right on. I go yay. I like your name. I go yay. The church sowed false hope into the lives of brown women. That's right. Who's this? Spiritual fruits? The lives of brown women to go home and accept the abuse they received. What? Yep, and mothers instilled in them. That's right. Oh, Get Out. I forgot the movie Get Out. Well, I made my opinion of this after seeing serious receipts, and I think it's dangerous, especially in constitutional rights being violated. Fleur, why do you think they're broadcasting the Cosby thing on Main Street? They're doing it to publicly flog him. I think they're purposefully doing it. It's just for the same reason that the slave masters used to take one Negro and hang him or beat him in front of the rest of the Negroes. It's to warn the other Negroes, if you get out of hand, this is gonna be you. I think it's a public display purposefully to make other brown people fearful of even thinking to get complacent amongst Lunars. That's what I personally think. Okay, it's what they do. I mean, I just take it as that. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but that's my opinion. They used to do it back in the days, and they do it purposefully to make other brown people feel a certain way, put fear in them. Okay, that's also why you get public executions of brown men, is to make other brown people feel a certain way and also put a warning on them. So y'all brown people keep getting out of hand, you gonna be an example. That's all that is. So, but remember, everything is along the line of karma. So you can only be in the frequency of consequence if you are matching that frequency. So if he had done zero wrong, chances are he wouldn't be caught up in the spectacle of it. He humiliated people. So what happens is that the same humiliation that he probably gave to his wife in cheating, or his daughters or his children, or others, maybe he publicly humiliated other people by calling them out. Now, at a time when there's all debts are being paid, he's getting his karma, and now he's being embarrassed and reprimanded in public eye and made a spectacle, and all his work is now down the tube because every bit of credibility that he gained in creating his lifetime and his legacy is basically, garbage now. It's tragic, and that's why we have to be mindful. Oh, everybody's a slave on this planet. Don't think you're above and beyond. Everybody. Sandra Bland was another. Well, listen, I agree. Dashay, this is where me and you agree. Sandra Bland didn't even get any time. She was murdered and killed, and nobody even talks about her other than young Pharaoh. I think he's the only one who I ever saw as a brown man really bring her up all the time and really ask for justice. Also, the other young lady, young Pharaoh brought up, I forgot the other one that was murdered and killed in a freezer. I forgot, what was her name? The one recently, and the other young lady that was shot. What was the other? There was another young brown lady killed in the fridge. I forgot her name. What was her name? And the other one, there was two other brown women killed besides Sandra Bland. Sandra Bland, and there was two other. One who was a conscious sister. She was in the house with her son, and she got murdered. Oh, yes, Kanika Jenkins. Kanika Jenkins, we talk about. Now, I've spoken about this before. We talk about these women being killed. How often do you see these platforms? How often do you see males talking about these platforms about Kanika or Sandra Bland or the other young lady that was murdered? You never hear brown men even talking about it. Corinne Gaines, thank you. Corinne Gaines, thank you. Corey Gaines, Corinne Gaines, thank you. I never hear any of the pseudo-conscious community ever bringing them up, because you know what? Because they don't care. Because it's a brown female. They don't like brown. I'm making a call, family, and maybe, listen, brown men come to me and tell me if I'm wrong. The majority of brown men, yes, Deshay, Pharaoh talks about both. He's the only one in the conscious community that actually cared about brown women getting murdered overtly like that. But I will say this, I'm going to call brown men out. If you think I'm wrong, tell me. Don't be afraid to engage with me on my own feed. See, they get afraid sometimes to talk to me on here when they think I'm being hostile. That's they think I'm being hostile. They get me in the DMs though. They'll come to me in the DMs, but I never hear you defend brown women being killed. I don't see any. Even the girl who was killed, I think it was Corinne, that was killed in her house. Her homeboy, her own homie, the man the father of her son, ran out the house like a punk and let her get shot for him. So I'm saying, brown women, stop putting yourself on the line for these brown men. They don't like you. They don't like us. Not all brown men, but the majority of them are traitors. And they are the reason why brown women are going down. And they are the reason, and they bring the most pain and deprivation to the communities of brown people. They do the most harm. They're selling drugs to their own people. They're shooting their own people. They're cheating and lying to their own women. They are to the worst degree. The justice system needs to be, well, yes, I agree with you totally. Justice system, as we know, is biased. This we know. Does it make it right? No. The justice system is going to be turned over to the right parties in the matriarchy. I guarantee you. You're going to start seeing that over the years. You're going to start to see more women judges. You're going to start seeing more judicial system, more balance with women representation. So I do agree with you. Okay, I would love to be a party and see that and view that and see that come, so that there's more balance and that we're seeing more justice amongst those who cannot afford legal representation, and they're usually thrown under the jail because they don't have the income to be able to really lend themselves the right kind of guidance or representation in the court system. So I do agree with you. But at the end of the day, my personal thoughts on that is can't start, none won't be none. You can't, if you're in the line of karma to match the repercussions, then you will get hit. The person who gets hit with the karma is the one who, nobody's victims here. Nobody's victims. Yeah, he's getting karma. No one's a victim here. So even if he didn't do the 90%, like I said, I agree with you. I don't believe that 90% of the women are telling absolutely the truth. I think he did do some rapes. I know he did, because he was in the genre that was applicable to the type of behavior that does that. So he was there in that time frame around people who did that. So more than likely, if we're using our own our own intellect, will know that more than likely he did one or two, if not more, but I'm just saying one or two at least. Okay, so for that fact, there's going to be a consequence to him, and unfortunately people are like pissed off because it came so much later. That's why I tell you, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Karma does not come when you want it to. He thought he got away with it. OJ thought he got away with murder. If he murdered that woman, his wife, if he murdered her, he thought he got away with it. What happened later? What happened later to OJ? He ended up getting up on trumped up charges. You get away with nothing. So I know homies, listen, I know OGs, hold on. I know OGs now that are reformed. I know OGs right now that are reformed. Do you know what happens to reformed OGs who used to sell drugs to mothers, pregnant mothers? They end up having issues later in their own family dynamics of the same things that they were complicit and they participated in their youth. No one gets away with everything. We all pay. If I lie to you today, someone will lie to me tomorrow. And if my karma is, if I'm a straight up liar, it may not even come right away. I'll end up being lied when it really matters, when I can't even do nothing about it, like Bill Cosby. Alexis K did a great reading on Bill. He went gay for pay, sucking, what? Pudding pops, getting over it. It's good. Oh, Lynn, thank you for that. I didn't even know that. Big up to Alexis K. And Alexis K is another one who talks about the black devil. Now, notice I'm using the word black. Remember, family, you rarely hear me talk about the black devil. Black means be lack, which is a 13 and lack. So it exasperates the lack. I'm utilizing the black word in the proper tense right now. I'm not talking about melanin dominant males. I'm talking about the black devil. Know who I'm talking about. People don't like when I talk. Someone said to me the other day, why are you always talking about complexion and color? We don't, color doesn't, I don't see color. If you say that to me again, let me explain something to those of you who are not brown. Let me say to you, when you say to any brown person that color doesn't exist, we see you as a racist. Let me tell everyone, because I have a lot of people who watch my videos from all backgrounds. Let me tell you, anyone who's not brown, if you say to brown people that color doesn't exist, we see you as a racist. Why? It's because for you to say that is the most asinine statement, and it also details your lack and your lack of self-awareness and your inability to see things from others' perspectives. If I like to wear red shirts or I love the smell of yellow orchids, it is relative to the color because the texture and the tone of the flower has a different hue and it has a different scent. It has a different frequency. For you to say to brown people that color is something you don't see, you are considered, I'm telling you I don't consider you to be racist. I consider you to be lacking in self-awareness and being in denial of certain things and being defensive. That's a defensive, because many people who are not of color say it, and it's a defensive stance. We see you as a racist, so stop saying it to me. Because if you say it to me, I'm going to ask you, what color shirt are you wearing today, and why did you wear it? What color shoes? Did you wear purple shoes with your green top? Why didn't you wear purple shoes with your green top? You know why you're going to say it? Because they didn't match. Stop telling me color doesn't matter, that you don't see it. It does. You're looking like an idiot when you say it to someone of color because we see you as a racist. You actually are probably not a racist, but you don't realize that's how you're perceived. Stop. No, I'm not talking about all brown men. Exactly. If you're on this right now and you're a brown man, I'm not talking about all of you, obviously. Okay, so what's the solution? Thank you. Okay, real vibration is bringing me in. Thank you, real vibration. Thank you. Okay, real vibration, thank you for bringing me in. What's a solution? Okay. A solution is acknowledgement. As simple as that. A solution is acknowledgement. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. Why is he being brought up on charges? Because it is showing an aspect that exists of putting things out that are showing us that not everything you see is that glitters is gold. The resolvement is acknowledgement, acknowledging an aspect of ourselves, acknowledging that there's no such thing as perfection, acknowledging people at the level that they are, acknowledging that putting people on pedestals is only damaging to yourself and to the other person. Acknowledgement. That is the resolvement. That's how we fix everything. Listen, when you see me and you see me drinking, that's what I do. Until I stop, this is what I do. So stop criticizing me because I'm doing it. It is what it is. I know what I'm doing. I'm not in denial. I do a lot of things great, but not everything perfect. Acknowledgement. Acknowledging that everything has two sides to the coin. Acknowledging that one aspect of a person may show up at one time, but don't be shocked when another aspect shows up at another time. Acknowledgement. That's it. That's the resolvement. I think once we start to realize and have a level of self-awareness about ourselves, and once we have a realization about ourselves, then at the other point, then we can have realization about the idiosyncrasies and the duality that exists in everybody else. So sis, when are the ones that killed our people going to receive the karma? I really don't believe in karma because what people? Remember, there are no victims here. And who killed our people? Are you saying that all brown people are your people? Because unless you are the same blood type, unless you come from the same lineage, not all brown people are the same people. Not all lunars or white people are the same people. Not all Asian people are the same people. I don't claim that all brown people are me. I don't sit here and say that every brown person is my lineage. We've got to stop lumping everyone together saying, when are we going to get accountability for people hurting our people? Not all seemingly brown people are the same, cut from the same cloth. That's not true. All my people, I'm grateful. Listen to me. I'm grateful for all the people that I rock with, that I know, that come from my lineage. There are zero criminals. I can say that. I'm proud of that. I'm grateful. There are zero people that I know personally in my family that have ever sold drugs to another person. Ever. There are zero people that I know personally in my family that have ever murdered someone that I heard of, to my knowledge. There are zero people in my family. I'm grateful. Listen, I'm grateful. There are zero people in my family that are in the prison system. So when you say that when are we going to have accountability for our people? I can't say that our people, all brown people are my people, because any brown person who sold drugs, I can't claim them because that's not something in my reality of the people that I know or I come from. So be mindful of lumping yourself with people that are not from your cloth. Not all brown people are you. And as you see, I could go to certain places and I know they aren't from me and my lineage. They may be from yours, maybe you claiming them for right reason, but I don't claim all brown people. Just like Lunars don't claim all lunar white people. Okay? We gotta stop doing that. That's what the Matrix did to you. That's what conditioning, that's what the television did to you. It lumped you all in one group, making you think that all people are you. Nah. Zero. Whoever's being executed right now, those are people in the frequency to be executed. I see it, I empathize. Listen, when I see somebody being hurt, somebody being harmed, I empathize for all. I empathize for little brown children getting hurt. I empathize for little white children being hurt. I empathize with little green children being hurt. I empathize with children and animals. I do, all across the board. When brown women tell me that they've been harmed and raped and traumatized, I empathize with them. When lunar white women tell me they've been harmed, raped, and traumatized, I empathize. I go across. I'm a pretty balanced person when it comes to that. So I'm sorry, I was a little hostile in this video. You were hurt about the Cosby. Don't pull into somebody else's frequency. Be hurt about your own family members. Cosby, is Cosby your father? Was Cosby the Huxtable? Is Cosby your parent? Anybody? Anybody a relative of Cosby right here? Please tell me. Okay. Are you a relative of Cosby? Or you are, Jamel? Okay. The only people who should really take it personally are relatives of his or his friends, his personal friends and family. Other than that, we're just observing from a distance. I have an opinion based on what I think I know. Remember, I said I think I know from the perspective I have. Okay. So unless you're his family personally, unless you know him personally, that's really the people who probably have the most a stake in what's going on with him now. Other than that, we're all observing him. Okay? We're observing what's happening, and it is a public spectacle to make, probably more so for a sign and symbol for brown people to be on the watch. If you join the old boys group, you're always going to have accountability for raping their women. And I think so. I actually personally think if you want to go more deep into metaphysics, you want to let's keep it real. I'm gonna bring it to complexion here. Can we be adult here and have this conversation? This is what I personally think on a metaphysical level. The movie Get Out and this happening with O.J. Simpson and happening with Cosby, it's actually telling brown men, if you keep messing with lunar women, this is what's going to happen to you. And why it's stating that, not to say lunar women are not worthy of being with a brown man. It's really saying that your lack of self-love and choosing women that don't look like you is going to have a consequence that you could possibly lose your life. That's what I think on a metaphysical level. So every time a brown man chooses a woman other than the one that looks like his mother, he will have a more overt consequence. It's just my opinion. I think that's on more of a metaphysical level. We got to keep it, because remember, we're working in the dynamics of the matrix and the cues and cues and the conditioning. And because of that, if you're getting movies, remember predictive programming, and remember the universe has to tell you things. You will never be without knowledge of something. Yo, Fleur, you feel about the Beyonce being a witch things and allegations? Why does that shock you? The best witches are doing very successful in the business. I remember she comes from my Creole bloodline. She comes from a Creole bloodline. She's the queen of illusion too, and she married a man who's not even from our timeline. I'd be shocked if she wasn't a witch. To be honest. Her mother is like the most witchy person. Do you hear what she used to do back in the days? She was all deep into the occult. They go to all the what some of you call bruja. Yeah. She's master. I told you, witches are not what you think. Everybody thinks the master witches are ugly. They have moles on their face. No, the witches that are the baddest are the richest and the best looking. So she's all in alignment with witchy type of lights. She's in a witchy alignment anyway. What do you think of Sasha Fierce? Sasha Fierce is an alternate personality. I'm gonna shut up. I was just about to say something. I'm not gonna say it. I'm sorry. This is one thing I can't because I got in trouble last time. I can't say what I was gonna say. I'm sorry. But you already know. If you read my mind, you already heard what I was about to say. All I say is, don't believe what's before you. Don't believe what you see on television. If you believe that Beyonce has a gap in between her legs, remember, me and Beyonce, I'm a little thicker, but me and Beyonce are shaped very much alike. If you believe that Beyonce that you're seeing had a gap between her legs, I would tell you to re-look at versions of Beyonce. That's all I'll say. I don't want to get in trouble. Right, pretty patience? You know what that is. They said say it. Oh, someone already said it. Thank you. Yeah. Spiritual fruits already blew the spot. I love when you read my mind. I don't get in as much trouble when you say it for me. Oh, I love it. Anyway, family, I'm sorry. I went on a rant. What time is it? Let me go. Bill Cosby, unfortunately for many of you, he's let you down as an image that you put him on a pedestal. And because you put that man on a pedestal, now he's being hung from a public standpoint and he's being condemned. So that should teach you a lesson not to condemn, not to put these men or any actors or anybody on television, including myself, on a pedestal. Don't do it. Don't do it. You will be failed every time. That's why people love him. They're very upset right now because they personalize him as a father figure. And a lot of people who personalize him as a father figure probably didn't even have fathers. Okay, so I had a good daddy. He wasn't my daddy. Okay, he wasn't an image that I required for me to feel good about myself. That's why it bothers a lot of people with Bill Cosby. But he did dirt. Yes, he did. And he was in a genre to do dirt, and he was with dirty people, so he got dirty. So now his dirty laundry is being hung up, and he's part of the dirty laundry that's being hung, and unfortunately, he's going to jail for it, okay? So free Camille. Camille, I hope you have a wonderful time. Leave the country. Come to our little island in St. Lucia and Martinique. We will treat you well. Go on a beach. Take off your clothes. Don't wear a brassiere. Be free to be who you were. Find a beautiful dreadlock Frenchman that will make all of Bill leave your mind. Bill will be behind bars, so you won't really have any. I don't think you have to uphold your marital status, right? If he's in jail, right? Does she have to? Is that? I don't know. Is that true? If he's in jail, does she have to really stay committed to him? Camille, go enjoy yourself. Yeah, I agree with this. Let her be free. Leave the country, though. You can't be free here. It's the United States of America. There's no freedom here. Leave the country. Take off the brassiere, Camille. Go with your daughter. Like I said, have phenomenal food. What is that movie? Eat, pray, and love. Eat, don't pray, and then make love. I hope she enjoys herself while he's in prison. And I personally hope that Camille, you might even want to file while he's in prison, because he can't really fight against anything right now. So that means that you can have some rights and some money so that you can kind of get away from him and actually have a life. Okay. I think a lot of times, she's taken on his identity. She's lost herself. Who is Camille? I want to know who Camille is. He used to talk about her all the time in his comedy. Who is Camille? You've taken on his whole character. Who are you? I want to know Camille. I want to see you chilling. I want to see you on an interview speaking about yourself, not about him. I want to see you as a mother. I want to know who you are. I want to know how you feel. I want to know Camille. So I want you to find freedom in this. So I support Camille and her daughter in the freedom and getting free from this terrible man's legacy being torn apart. That's all. I was raised by a single parent. My older brother is my engineer. My younger brother is in medical school, and I am a scientist. So there are people issues. Oh, right on, Pretty Patience. There's no excuses. Thank you, Pretty Patience. Remind everyone, there's no excuses for being a bastard or or utilizing the way you reared to not succeed. Everybody can succeed if they want to. Camille is a witch who knew exactly what happened. Jay Flower went in. Jay Flower said she was a witch. I don't doubt it. Maybe she maybe she did some bruja. Maybe she's the reason why we putting all this stuff. We put all this stuff on outsiders. Maybe it was the wife. You know, the wife is like, I'm done. I'm done with you, Bill. Bruja. Oh, wow. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I'm hot. Okay, family. I've already talked to you so much. Join me tonight. I'll probably still get it in. I was on fire earlier. Just rewatch the video at the beginning when I show the videos, because you'll see an aspect of Bill that you don't know exists. And it allows you to take down your guard, to see a man for who he is, a man. He is not a god. He is not perfect. He is a man. He played a character on a television show of being a profound, wonderful father. Listen to me. He was a character on a show of being a good father. It wasn't who he was, it's who he played. Stop it. Come on now. Use some rational state of mind. Because someone plays a character, you believe they're who they are? Because he plays such a wonderful father figure? Come on. Well, what happened? Sweating, young Pharaoh stuff will be revealed. Uh-oh. Patrick said, hope you're not linked, Fleur. What happened, Patrick? Something happened with young Pharaoh? Why is everybody talking about young Pharaoh? Did he do something? I don't think he's a young man. So what'd he do? Young Pharaoh, well, I don't see young Pharaoh not making acknowledgement for himself. Maybe he'll defend himself. Yeah, young Pharaoh, if young Pharaoh is being, I don't know why people keep bringing him up, but I'm saying if y'all have issues with young Pharaoh, I see young Pharaoh being able to handle anything that he's accused of. Okay? So I think maybe you should go to his platform and ask him what he did, because I don't know anything about it. Oh, who's that Money Under Mount Vernon? That's right. Hunger, Knowledge Queen. That's right, Money Under Mount Vernon. You know where I'm from. What you know about Money Under Mount Vernon? Yeah. If you have any issues with any of these, Dear Perry, if you guys have issues, I don't follow a lot of all I hear is about the conscious male community. Young Pharaoh is a young man that I've talked to. And again, he could be my son's age. I don't have a son, but if I had a son, he could be the age I could have given birth to him. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. I'm much more lenient with young people because I understand what's going on with them, and I would love for anything that's going on with the young man to be addressed with him, because I feel like he can probably handle it. He's very astute and very knowledgeable. So I feel like if anything comes to him, he would absolutely handle it. Oh, is there a debate going on? Something happens. That tells you how much I know. Is there a debate going on with young Pharaoh? Maybe there is. Maybe I'll watch. He can handle it. Yeah. Yeah, he's a young. I just, if you're an elder, I just say leave the young men alone. If you have an issue with the young man, then definitely by all means bring it to him and let him address it. That's all. Yeah, I agree. Because I don't know anything about that. And like I said, I appreciate when young people show up beautifully and he's trying his best to stay out of trouble. I think that's phenomenal. So, let him be. Oh, he's protecting, who's protecting Cosby? Oh, young Pharaoh? Oh, I saw that. Yeah. I don't have to agree with everyone else says. I did see young Pharaoh. Oh, that's what they say. Okay, that's what you were saying. Oh, yeah, I don't agree with everything everyone says. Young Pharaoh could have his opinion. I have my own. Remember, I'm very different perspective. Me and young Pharaoh meet in certain areas and sometimes we don't. So sometimes we meet on the same grounds and sometimes we don't. That's okay. So he has his perspective, I have mine. Personally, I think Bill Cosby deserves whatever he has right now, and he's in the karmic debt of frequency that he's actually dealing with. That's all. So yeah, he has a right to his opinion, and he's really good. Young Pharaoh will come with all kinds of receipts. He's very studious, and he's a bit of he's a what do they call him? He studies. He looks at things from all perspectives. He tends to get a lot of receipts on things. So I did watch his video somewhat on it. I don't think I watched the whole thing, but his perspective is his perspective. We don't meet on this one, and I'm okay with it. And I'm sure he's okay with my opinion on it. Yeah. Not everybody's supposed to agree on YouTube. I hope you know that. Yeah, leave the young people alone. let them grow on their own. RFG Chosen One. I know RFG Chosen One had an issue with young Pharaoh. Both of them are going through some sort of riffraff, right? So let them handle it. Those are two young men. Let them handle it. Don't bring the mother figure into it, because all I'll do is try to neutralize both sides. So I'm not the best person to bring up the young men, because I see them as children my age. That could be the age that I could give birth to them. So I will come from a mother standpoint. That's not something I shouldn't be participating in the conversation about two young men talking about something and battling it out. Let the young men handle it as they should. And, if anything happens, I always have an opinion about it, but I'm not really involved in that. Rudolph of Germany is vicious female robots will control your male soon. Did you hear him? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, Jelly Bean. You remember that? Oh, Nature Boy? I don't know if we're the same age. Me and Nature Boy might be the same age. We come from the same genre, so we might be within the same age, I think. I'm not sure. I don't know how old Nature Boy is. Nature not. Let's keep it real. Anyway, family, I'm gone. You'll have me again tonight. I'm going to be on Aquarius Rising 9th Gate tonight, as you see. I will be on there. I came on to do my little rant on Cosby from my perspective. And I'm sorry I was a little fiery at the beginning. And I am unapologetic about calling the black man the devil. Because the black man is the devil. And I'm taking that stance. And remember, when I say black, please, for all good intention purposes, for those who are just checking me, yes, I said the black man is the devil. B is a 13 and lack is what black. That's why you never hear me call people of color black. I always say melanin dominant or carbon or brown people. I never use it because I'm using that term. So black men are the devil, okay? So anyone who's black, B-lack, is the devil. And the black man is the devil. He is the foot on the neck of the divine feminine, and he is about to get his balls cut off in this cycle. Fire in the yard. Fire in the yard. So anyway, family, I'm gone. You'll see me tonight on Aquarius Rising 9th Gate. Hopefully I'll be on time. And hopefully, because I was going to say, someone asked me, I don't know who it was, because I can't remember who it was. Someone asked me what my oranges on my island look like. Okay, this one is the orange. Mine is bigger, but this is an orange from my island. Because I told people my island oranges are green. This is one from Dominica, which is close to my island in Martinique. Our oranges look like this. St. Lucia oranges look like this. They're green, and they're very, very bitter, very sour, almost like a sweeter version of, I don't know, a sweeter version of a lime or a lemon combined. Okay, so this is our oranges. So I forgot to tell. Someone asked me on here, and I can't remember who it is. I know you're probably watching. So someone wanted to know, oh, you got oranges, Jamaican oranges too? Candy, I didn't know, Juno. So yeah, these are oranges. Mine is a little bigger. This one is not. This one is from Dominica. I got this here, but mine from Martinique and Saint Lucia. These are oranges. Okay, so they're very, very good. And for the ones with babies, oh, same in Ghana. Oh, sister said the same in Ghana. You know what's good about these, family, is that if you give these to the babies, yes, sour, it's bitter. If you give these to the babies, a lot of us grow up consuming bitters, which get rid of parasites. Make sure that these are good for the babies. So if you want to juice anything, give the baby a little bit of this. This will get any parasites or worms. If they are about to get a cold because it's heightened in vitamin C, these are good. The little babies tend to, because it's so bitter, the babies are, they always get like this. But if you want to give it to your children, it's very, very good for them. So if you can find a green orange, these are heirlooms. These are what are grown. And I'm glad Africa, you told me they're in Africa too, because it means that wherever they came from originally are heirlooms as well. So these are good for you if you can find them anywhere, especially from the Caribbean. These are great for you, especially during cold or flu season. They're heightened in vitamin C and they're bitters. They get rid of parasites. Instead of doing all these wormwoods and these herbs, a lot of you don't realize some of the fruits from the Caribbean, the native indigenous fruits, the heirlooms, they get rid of a lot of these things naturally. You don't need to take 50 million herbs in a pill when you could just eat one green orange. Our oranges are not orange. Only here do you have homogenized oranges. The oranges in Florida that are orange, those are not indigenous oranges. Those are genetically modified. Our oranges are not orange. They look like this. Okay? So if you can, jelly bean, like if you go somewhere, like if you go abroad, whenever you travel, like you go on holiday, go and get these. They're good for you. And you can, I think they let you bring them to the States. Okay. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because somebody asked me, I couldn't remember who it was. And they said, how do our oranges look? Because they didn't believe me when I said oranges are green. These are our oranges. Oh yeah, you make, yes, Dollface, you can make like orange juice, like a lemonade. Yes. Usually you have these like, they juice them and they don't really put sweetener in there. Sometimes people will put sometimes a little, molasses in here, but it's very good for the babies. Okay. So these are very, very good for the babies. I say this for the babies because a lot of mothers have babies with gripe and gripe water. This is the concept of where gripe water came from. It came from the oranges that look like this. Okay, that's all. Anyway, so I'm gone, family, because I got to come on tonight. I want to go see my mommy. Where can you get the seeds? You know what, Jelly Bean? When I get a chance, like if you ever come to, I think I'm doing the conference again next year, I'll hold the seeds because, I'm a seed hustler. Yes, I'm a seed hustler. I'll hold the seeds because Kirk already took the seeds out of the other one. I'll hold the seeds. So whoever comes to the conference, I'll just give it to you for free. I'll hold the seeds for this so you guys can take the seeds. And if you live in a warm region, you can grow the tree. Okay? So I'll hold them for anybody I see at the conference next year. So you'll be able to have them. Okay? So it'll be good for you. Like, be able to have that. All right? The seeds, these seeds are from Dominica, which is another French island. Mine from Martinique, I have to ask my cousins, unless I go for Christmas. I'll bring mine I like mine is a little bigger. But if I get mine from Martinique or St. Lucia, I'll bring them to the conference and I'll let you guys have them. Okay? So these are good. I like to exchange seeds. I'm a seed exchanger and I love to keep the heirloom seeds because I'm going to bring these to South America. I'm going to bring the seeds to South America. All right? I talk smack on YouTube, and then I tell you about seeds at the end of the video. Oh, your husband's from Dominica? They're good people, very laid back. They can be a little, when they get mad though, they get really mad. Okay, you can't draw. Okay, we'll talk about seeds all day. All right, I'm sorry for the hostility at the beginning. I'm not retracting my statement. I don't agree with everybody who backs, Bill Cosby. He's getting what he deserves, and any black man who does harm and goes against what he knows is right for his lineage will burn or have his balls cut off. Stop watching football. Ban football. Stop watching men bend over with balls in between their legs unless that's something that you want to hold in your consciousness. Some of us females don't mind that, but if you're a male and you're a straight male, you may want to rethink watching that sport because it's conditioning you to think and feel a certain way about other men. I'm just saying. All right, family, I'm out. I'm gonna stop being and for all the men that are about to DM me because they're not talking on here, call me. Peace, family. I'll see you tonight on Aquarius Rising 9th Gate at 9 o'clock. Peace.